My dad used to say, and it drove me crazy as a teenager. I'd ask him to do things, and his response was, "If you need the answer now, the answer is no." Like, can we go to the movies? Well, and I would be like, "Can I go? Can I go? Can I go?" And he's like, "Well, if you need the answer now, the answer is no." And it would literally, I'm like, "Dad, it's like in a few hours. Can I go?" And basically, what he was trying to do is buy himself time so that he could gather more information so that he made a good decision for me and for the family. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Freedom Factory podcast. This one might be getting to you a little bit late. I don't know if you guys are dedicated to the Monday time frame. And if you are, that's incredible. We drop these usually every Monday at 6 a.m. So you may be getting this a day late or a couple days late because I was late this week to getting this thing out. But nevertheless, glad you're here. And the topic this week, I think, is a really good one, really timely, actually. Time is about the conversation. But I've kind of labeled this the wisdom in waiting. The wisdom in waiting. Okay, waiting for what, right? The wisdom in waiting to respond to conversations, having emotional intelligence, EQ over IQ. I have said many times, I am not the smartest person. My IQ is, I don't even know. I didn't like school. I've got a lot of deficiencies when it comes to IQ. My EQ, I believe, has helped me get where I am today. Being in situations where I have to suppress my emotions so that I'm able to say the right things at the right time, instead of not suppressing, saying something I regret later, and it having an impact on the person that I'm speaking to negatively and an impact on me negatively. My dad used to say, and it drove me crazy as a teenager. I'd ask him to do things, and his response was, "If you need the answer now, the answer is no." Like, can we go to the movies? Well, and I would be like, "Can I go? Can I go? Can I go?" And he's like, "Well, if you need the answer now, the answer is no." And it would literally, I'm like, "Dad, it's like in a few hours. Can I go?" And basically, what he was trying to do is buy himself time so that he could gather more information so that he made a good decision for me and for the family, right? And so that's what this is all about, is gathering information and being someone that can respond in a calculated way versus reacting. This is huge, guys, in all phases of your life. I watch this unfold on social media all the time, especially the last few weeks or months. It seems like it's just escalating on social media. It's been going on now since COVID, like really, like people are become so divisive in this country, in this world. And I believe it's because most of them are just reacting. They're not responding, they're reacting. They're not taking the time to gather information. They're just spitting out whatever their first thoughts are, and you're seeing the results of it. And I don't want that for you in your business, especially your network marketing business, especially a network marketing business, guys, because we don't have employees. We are all independent contractors. The people that are part of your organization don't have to be. Right? You don't pay them. They are here as a partner with you. They are equals with you. Do they have the same paycheck, the same experience? Probably not. But in order to build a big organization, which is what I think all of you want, you've got to have the ability to be slow to respond to things. There is wisdom in waiting. That's what this podcast is about. Okay. And so it matters because a lot of times our instinct is to just fire back at someone, right? Especially if it's a hot topic, something that we are really engaged in, or maybe it's someone that's been frustrating you and you do the same, they do the same thing again. Like you already were frustrated with them and they do the exact same thing again. And then you're like, that's it, I had enough. And you just kind of let it fly. That usually does not end well, right? That's not the way to do it. It damages trust. It damages relationships. And it can really turn the whole team morale down. Like if you see teams that have drama in the teams, there's a lot of drama in a team. It's because you usually have leaders that are reacting instead of responding. Reacting and responding. When you respond, it's usually with a little bit of thought, like sleep on it type thought for a few minutes, a few hours, maybe a day. I can't tell you guys how many text messages I don't put send on. Like I don't push send. I'll like rewrite it and then rewrite it. And then sometimes I'll rewrite it and just let it sit there. I won't hit send. And I come back to it a few hours later or the next day and I'm like, it's not even important. Or I change my thought process. And I'm so glad that I didn't push send. Okay. Remember, you want to be able to respond versus react. Amateurs react, professionals respond. You guys are here to become professional network marketers. Professionals take the time to think, they calculate their words, then they respond. Amateurs just react. Okay. You don't want to be an amateur. It's like chasing your tail in this business. If you're constantly struggling to build a team, it might be because you're not taking the time to respond to things. All right. Emotional intelligence is, to me, very underrated in our business. It's having the ability to recognize what's going on between the lines. If someone says something negative in your team or is doing things that's irritating you, the person with emotional intelligence can sit back and kind of figure out why that person might be in the place they're in, and then try and help guide them, not just reacting to their conversation. And this is really, really important in network marketing because of something I've already kind of alluded to, guys. And that is we do this voluntarily, right? We don't have employers. No one pays us to be a part of a team or part of an organization. So the way you handle objections in your own organization is critical, because the way you handle it is typically how they will handle it. And this is a broad topic. I mean, from your leadership chats to, what's going on inside the chat in your team Zooms, the way you handle things has a massive, massive impact. And then what happens when there's like conflict within the organization? The way you handle conflict is incredibly important. And so like someone has an objection to, hey, I don't like the way the company is doing XYZ. All right. That's like an objection to something. That's not a conflict. A conflict would be, I don't want that person ever to present in front of my organization again. Like that's a conflict. And these things are going to happen, right? That person does this too much in the presentation, and I don't want my team to be a part of it. That's a conflict. And that's something you don't want happening in your organization. If you react to that conversation, many times it's not the right words, and it won't land well. So you're better off taking a breather, sitting back and figuring out the proper understanding why it's even being said in the first place. Then understanding if it even needs something being responded to, or will it just play itself out? And usually ignoring a problem, like ignoring a conflict, is not a good thing. Like you got to kind of just don't do that, right? But some things do play themselves out. But it's important to be able to do that. And then just making sure that you're not frustrating your own organization because you're frustrated, like disappointment. Like, let's say there's not a certain amount of people getting on calls. You're disappointed because not a certain amount of people are getting on calls or not showing up. Well, that is, well, it's a feeling that you have, right? But being able to respond to that. In fact, that very thing just happened not too long ago. I was talking to some leaders from another country, and they were a little disappointed with the numbers that were turning up. And I had to remind them that the majority of people that are they were wanting more guests to be on the call. And I get that. Like, I would love to have, the majority of the people be on an opportunity Zoom, be guests. But I had to remind them that's not how it works. It doesn't work in home meetings that way. It doesn't work online. There's a percentage, and really there's a side game going on for opportunity meetings. This is a whole nother topic, but I love it when I've got consultants on an opportunity meeting, because I am re-enrolling them. I'm reconvincing them. I'm reaffirming to them why they need to be a part of what we're doing. Not only am I bringing new people in, I'm reconfirming to the ones who are already in why they are in the right spot. Right. So I have a different perspective when it comes to that. And so when someone says something like that they're disappointed in the amount of people turning up or prospects turning up, I don't want to react to that and make the problem worse. I want to be able to take the time and respond to that conversation, right? If you don't change this, you are going to find yourself just kind of in a churn where you're constantly having to enroll new people, constantly having to find new friends, because this expands outside of your business. Okay. This whole concept of waiting to respond is not just a network marketing or just a business thing. This is a relationship thing. Like, if you have a hard time gaining friends, it's probably because you're saying things that are abrasive to too many people too often. And you may think, well, I don't care. I'm just, that's who I am. And that's what I'm gonna do. Cool. I don't care either. But you just probably are going to go through life pretty alone. Okay. So we want to make sure that you kind of take this process, right? Like, take this in 3 steps. Number 1, you want to pause. Whether the pause is a couple seconds, couple hours, couple days, couple weeks, pause. Just slow down, take a breath, okay? And just say to yourself, let me think about this, okay? Let me understand this. Then process. So first thing is pause. Second thing is process. Try and think, why is the person saying what they're saying? Try to understand where the person's coming from, all right? So pause, then process, and then third, respond. Pause, process, respond. If you will do this, I mean, guys, literally, I have watched leaders, 6-figure leaders, completely sabotage their organization because they did not do what I'm telling you here. They didn't take the time to pause. They didn't take the time to process. All they did was respond, or react, not respond, right? And I've watched it happen over and over and over and over again. This is clearly a problem. And honestly, one of the beauties of network marketing is we are, as a community, so much further along in personal development than most people. When I'm around big groups of people, I get to, I love watching conversations, listening to conversations. And I can tell you that there are people who would be so much further along in life if they would just take the time to develop themselves personally, becoming a better person. This is part of it. Like, it's one thing to be smart. It's another thing to have some intelligence and emotional intelligence. I mean, I'm thinking about just being in a relationship, being in a marriage. I think a lot of marriages end because there's very little emotional intelligence with the two people. And so taking the time to pause, then process, then respond. This is a critical function of communicating. What about with your children? I mean, your children are constantly going to do things that are going to frustrate you. Taking the time to pause, taking the time to process, and then responding. Like, this all plays out through all phases of our life, but especially in business. Okay. So here's your kind of call to action. Here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to put this in practice this week in 3 different areas. I want you to put this in practice in your family. Okay. When something is said this week that irritates you, or something that's done that's irritates you. The dishes aren't done the way you want. The bed isn't made the way you want. The doors are left open. The AC's left on. The toilet seat's left up. Toilet paper's the wrong way. Whatever. Something in the family, right? Pause, process, respond. And try to do it with a little humor. That's always fun. Humor is always good. Okay. I want you to do it in business as well. I want you this week it's going to happen somewhere in your business this week. Something's going to come up. I don't want you to react to it. I want you to pause, process, then respond. And lastly, I want you to do this online. Please, for the love of keyboards and your thumbs and fingers, stop reacting in social media. Something is going to be said. Some post is going to be put out. Please take the time to pause, process, and then respond. And hey, guess what? Sometimes a good response is no response, especially in social media. You may think you need to respond. You're going to pause, but you're only going to pause for a few minutes. Pause for a day, pause for a week, then go back to that post a week later and see if you'd have said the same thing. Or maybe that time you took the process, you learned some things. See, that's what this is about learning, trying to learn what's going on. Because sometimes if you respond too fast, you look like a fool. My dad used to also say, you may be a fool, but you don't prove it till you open your mouth, or with your thumbs nowadays. Okay. And so, I'm quoting my dad a lot. Maybe I'm becoming more like him, which is really scary. But anyway, that's what I want you guys to do this week. All right. In family, in business, and online. I want you to pause. I want you to process. And then I want you to respond. If you will do these things, it will most definitely help you become more successful in a lot of phases in your life. All right. That's it for this week. This is a good one, though. You might want to star this one because I think communication is one of the arts of building a big team. So anyway, have a great week. Sorry it was a few hours late, but it's done. See you next week.